What if a seemingly simple act you've been doing quietly for years is actually weakening your sexual system, lowering your hormones, dulling your emotions, and creating a growing distance from your partner? In fact, many men over the age of 60 still maintain a regular habit of masturbation and see it as a good sign, proof that they're still healthy, still have desire. But the issue here doesn't lie in whether or not you do it. It lies in how you're unconsciously repeating it every single day. According to modern neuroscience studies, when you stimulate your body in the same way, same touch pressure, same position, same rhythm, and same environment, the brain gradually forms a reflex path. Over time, your nervous system responds only to that particular type of pleasure and becomes less receptive to the emotional sensations that come from real physical connection. I'm Dr. Samuel Grant, and over 30 years of working with older men, I've seen countless cases of declining sexual vitality, not due to aging, but because of privately maintained habits done the wrong way. This video will help you identify 10 silent risks related to masturbation after age 60, covering physical, neurological, emotional, and hormonal aspects. But more importantly, I'll guide you on how to adjust this habit to turn it into a natural tool for supporting your sexual health, enhancing blood circulation, protecting your prostate, and improving your quality of life. And especially at the end of this video, I'll share with you a simple technique that takes just 7 seconds a day, yet has helped many men restore sexual function, regain arousal, and maintain their performance, all naturally without medications or medical procedures. But before we dive deep into the main content, I'd love to connect with you, the one who's still listening. Where are you watching this video from? Leave a comment below. I truly value every story, every share from the men who are on a journey to reclaim their inner strength. And if you're truly interested in practical, scientific, and human-centered knowledge about men's health in midlife and beyond, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss any valuable content on this journey of self-care. Now let's begin with the first risk, something not easily seen with the naked eye but has deep and lasting effects: the narrowing of emotions when you gradually detach from true connection. Risk 1. Silent social disconnection, when the habit of being alone pulls you further from real connection. One of the first things I notice in many patients over 60 isn't physical health. It's in their eyes. The silent gaze of men who haven't been touched or truly seen as a person with full emotions for a long time. I still vividly remember a conversation with a retired teacher, 67 years old. After a few polite exchanges, he hesitantly asked me, "I still do it alone, but I haven't been close to anyone in months. Is that okay, doctor?" That question wasn't just about the act itself. It reflected a deeper concern that when masturbation, which is completely normal when done properly, becomes a substitute for real emotional connection, a man gradually loses the need for intimacy, the desire to share, and even the ability to feel the presence of another person. Many older men choose to release quietly because it's quick, without obligation, and doesn't hurt anyone. But when this becomes a repeating lifestyle, isolation grows silently. No more dating, no more physical touch, no more shared laughter or eye contact. Just a private space, quiet and increasingly empty. I've seen many men lose interest in intimacy, not because their bodies have weakened, but because their emotions have been put on hold for so long that they've become afraid to open up. In reality, physical contact isn't just for satisfaction. It's part of your emotional immune system. It tells your brain you still exist, that you're still loved. When you stop seeking connection, you're not just withdrawing, you're letting the world slowly forget that you once lived fully as a man. The good news is, connection doesn't have to come from sex or romantic love. It can begin with a phone call, a warm hello, a handshake at a community gathering. Just by stepping out a little, you're already reminding yourself that you still deserve to be seen and heard. And when emotional distance grows over time, the next thing you need to pay attention to is the silent change happening in your body, starting with the most sensitive area, the skin around your genitals. Dear friend, if you're still watching this video up to this point, I'm truly glad that you care about your health. Leave the number 1 in the comments below so I know you're still here with me. Risk 2. Micro trauma to the skin, when your private area loses its natural protection. Not long ago, I saw a patient in his 70s with a very confused expression. He admitted that lately, whenever he relieved himself, he began to feel a burning sensation, sometimes mild pain, and it really worried him. This isn't uncommon, especially in older men. As we age, the skin around the genital area becomes thinner and less elastic. Collagen declines, recovery slows, and the natural protective barrier isn't as effective as before. That means just a slightly rough touch or a lack of lubrication can cause micro-injuries that are hard to see, but enough to cause irritation and lingering inflammation. At first, it may just feel like a bit of redness, some burning, or increased sensitivity. But if it keeps happening over time, it can lead to more serious issues, like reduced sensitivity, swelling, and even bacterial or fungal infections. The genital area is warm and enclosed, which makes it an ideal environment for microorganisms to thrive. What's concerning is that many men misinterpret these symptoms as signs of erectile dysfunction, hormonal decline, or complex disease, when in reality, the problem lies in the way they're touching themselves. To protect this sensitive area of skin, there are 3 things you should remember. First, accept that your body has changed. It needs to be treated more gently. Second, always use appropriate lubrication, preferably water-based. Do not use Vaseline or saliva. Third, don't rush. This isn't a technical task, it's a moment for reconnecting with your body. I always remind my patients, true pleasure isn't about speed, it's about listening and respecting your body. And that begins with even the smallest details. But while these surface injuries can be seen or felt, the next risk comes from deep within, a place most men don't even realize is being rewired day by day. The pleasure processing nervous system. Risk 3, framed nervous system, when the brain only registers one familiar type of pleasure. A 64-year-old man, still sharp and functioning normally in daily life, came to see me in quite a heavy mood. He didn't have any issues with health or hormones, but when we talked about intimacy with his wife, he said something very honest. "I don't understand why I'm fine when I'm alone, but when I'm with her, I don't feel anything anymore." This situation is actually not rare, and the key point doesn't lie in hormones or medical conditions. The issue often begins with the repetitive nature of one-dimensional stimulation, causing the pleasure-processing nervous system to become hardwired. When you get used to only one kind of stimulation, same pressure, same position, same rhythm, and usually in the same environment, the brain will form a specialized reflex pathway. Over time, it starts prioritizing that specific sensation and ignores other forms of emotional or physical stimulation, even real-life physical intimacy with another person. This phenomenon is medically known as desensitization due to sensory conditioning, meaning you're still capable, but your nervous system has been trained to respond to just one model. As a result, during moments of genuine closeness with another person, you feel disconnected. The important thing is, the brain can relearn. And to do that, you need to change the pattern of familiar stimulation. Change the position, the speed, use imagination instead of visual stimuli, or simply allow things to unfold more slowly. Every small change is a new signal sent to the nervous system, helping to reopen sensory pathways that have been forgotten. I often tell my patients, your nervous system isn't broken, it's just been following the same path for too long. And if you create a new one, it will learn to feel again, naturally, without medications or support devices. And once your nervous system has been limited to reacting only to a single pattern, the next risk lies in misinterpreting your actual sexual ability, which can make you overlook early warning signs from your body. Dear friend, if you're still watching this video up to this point, thank you for staying with me. I truly appreciate it. Please leave the number 3 in the comments so I know I'm not speaking alone. Risk 4. Misleading solo ability, when early signs of erectile dysfunction go unnoticed. I once had a conversation with a man over 60. He still maintained an active lifestyle, had a stable family, and confidently believed he was still doing fine. But when we sat down for a deeper talk, he sighed and shared something that caught my attention. "I'm still okay when I'm alone, but when I'm with my wife, I just can't do it. It has happened several times now, and I've started to feel discouraged and just gave up." This kind of situation is actually very common, because many people mistakenly think, if I can still masturbate, it means my body is still healthy. But the truth is, the ability to get an erection when alone doesn't necessarily mean that your reproductive system, blood vessels, and hormones are still functioning properly in real-life intimacy. Masturbation, because it involves no pressure, no need to meet anyone's expectations, and no need for coordination, usually happens more easily. But if you can only get erect when you're alone and struggle when you're with a real person, then your body might be warning you of underlying erectile dysfunction. The penis is an honest gauge of vascular health. If blood isn't pumping enough, if blood vessels lose elasticity, or if testosterone has dropped slightly, then the loss of control during intimacy is an early sign. But because solo activity still happens normally, many people miss the chance to detect early risks like diabetes, high blood pressure, or metabolic disorders. And that leads to a vicious cycle. The more difficult real-life intimacy becomes, the more you retreat to being alone, further reinforcing the solitary habit. Meanwhile, if detected early, these initial disorders can absolutely be improved through lifestyle adjustments, nutrition, or hormonal support. What I always hope my patients understand is, treat every malfunction as a signal, not a failure. And if you act early, you can protect your natural sexual function without needing medication or invasive procedures. And while the last two risks warned you about neurological conditioning and hidden signs of physiological disorders, the next risk stems from how you sit during the act, something seemingly harmless, but silently compressing the genital nerves every single day. Risk 5. Posture that puts pressure on the nerves, a habit that seems harmless but silently damages male sensation. I still clearly remember a rather special case. An elderly man over 70 came to see me because he felt heaviness and slight numbness in the perineal area. There was no clear pain, no signs of inflammation, just a vague discomfort every time he sat for long or after masturbation. He used to think simply, maybe it's just old age or poor blood circulation. But after a thorough examination, I discovered the real issue was with the nerves, not the circulatory system. The main cause was improper sitting posture during masturbation, often on a hard chair or with the body hunched too far forward. In such positions, the tailbone area and perineum are directly pressed against the hard surface below day after day, leading to silent compression of the pudendal nerve, which controls genital sensation. At first, it's just mild numbness, sometimes with a crawling or tingling feeling. But if this condition persists, the nerve signals sent to the penis and pelvic area become weaker, reducing natural reflexes and affecting pleasure, even making ejaculation uncomfortable. Some may mistake this as a sign of hormonal decline or aging. But in reality, just by adjusting posture and sitting duration, this condition can improve significantly. Start by avoiding long sitting periods on hard surfaces that put pressure on the perineum. If needed, try lying on your back with a soft cushion under your lower back and knees. Also, take time to stretch and walk gently after each hour of sitting, whether in daily activities or private moments. The small change you make today could be the big difference that helps you preserve sensation, function, and connection with your body for the long term. And while nerve damage silently affects physical pleasure, the next risk directly impacts your mental and emotional state, leading many to unknowingly develop dependency. Risk 6. Turning pleasure into a refuge. When masturbation becomes a way to soothe loneliness instead of reflecting physical need. In a personal counseling session, a man over 60 once confided in me a sentence I will never forget. "Doctor, when I'm tired, I don't do it because of desire, but to escape the heaviness in my heart." That statement reflects a common but often hidden reality. When masturbation is no longer a simple physiological need, but becomes an emotional shelter, a self-soothing reflex to fill the emptiness inside. After 60, many men face prolonged loneliness due to retirement, loss of loved ones, or living apart from their children. In such circumstances, self-stimulation sometimes brings a temporary sense of control, relief, thanks to the brain releasing dopamine, oxytocin to relax and feel better. But if this becomes the only way to balance emotions, that person may fall into an emotional loop of solitude, refusing to connect with the outside world, and gradually losing other joys they once had like conversations, meeting friends, or simply stepping outside for fresh air. I don't want you to think this behavior is wrong, but I do want you to be aware of when it starts replacing other healthy ways of caring for your emotions. Because when the body tries to relieve stress but the soul is still empty, you'll feel increasingly drained. The solution isn't to force yourself to stop, but to open other paths for emotional balance, join a community group, take up a new hobby, reconnect with an old friend, or simply step outside every morning for a few laps around the park. Because if you only rely on one escape, that very escape can become the invisible wall that imprisons your emotions over the years. And while that habit may let you sink into your own world without anyone knowing, the next risk makes your entire body feel sluggish and heavy, even if all your medical tests come back perfectly normal. It's a condition increasingly seen in older men, pelvic circulation congestion, a hidden cause of sexual decline that many have never heard of. Risk 7. Pelvic circulation congestion, when repetitive stimulation makes the body sluggish. A man over 60 once shared with me during a consultation. "Doctor, I don't know how to describe it clearly, but I just feel like something is weighing down underneath. It's not exactly painful, but it's really uncomfortable." All his test results were normal. No infections, no enlarged prostate, stable circulation. But when I asked more about his private activity frequency, he replied very honestly, "Once a day, sometimes 2 or 3. It helps me sleep." What he was experiencing was pelvic congestion, a condition many older men have without even realizing. When masturbation occurs too frequently, especially in those with aging blood vessels and soft tissue, blood and biological fluids don't circulate back in time, leading to a heavy sensation down below. Common symptoms include a tense feeling in the testicles, dull pain behind the pubic bone, or a vague fatigue in the lower abdomen without a clear cause. While not immediately dangerous, if prolonged, it can affect sexual function and long-term pleasure. This isn't a moral issue, but a biological principle. The body after 60 needs more time to recover hormonally, neurologically, and circulatorily. If you maintain a too rapid pace with no reasonable breaks, you'll lose your ability to feel clearly. The act may still happen, but the emotion becomes dull. If you've ever felt pelvic soreness, heavy testicles, or drained after each stimulation, it's likely a sign that your body lacks the space to recover. Pausing for a few days, 2 to 4 days between each ejaculation, won't diminish your desire. In fact, it helps make the sexual experience fuller and the pleasure more real. And while congestion brings about physical sluggishness, the next risk slowly erodes your self-confidence, a strange feeling that doesn't come from the body but from the mind. The guilt and regret after each release, especially for those raised in environments full of strict moral codes and expectations. Risk 8. Lingering guilt, when the mind punishes itself after every private moment. A 72-year-old man, once a leader in a religious community, shared with me, "Sometimes I still feel desire, but after I do it, I feel like I've done something wrong. I don't even want to look in the mirror anymore." That statement represents a common, yet rarely mentioned obsession. The feeling of shame and self-reproach after masturbation, even though the act itself causes no harm, hurts no one, and is entirely personal. The problem isn't the action, but the belief system deeply rooted in the subconscious, that personal pleasure is something to be hidden, that sexuality is only for the young, or that desire in old age is a sign of weakness. The truth is, these negative emotions don't just drain the mind, they also have real biological consequences. Prolonged stress raises cortisol, a hormone that suppresses testosterone, causes insomnia, lowers the ability to reach climax, and over time makes the person feel undeserving of love, connection, and even their own body. I often ask patients like this a very simple question: whose standards are you using to judge your behavior? Does that value still suit your current situation? Many people have never stopped to ask themselves that. The solution isn't to stop the behavior altogether, but to change how you view yourself. You can absolutely speak with a professional who understands the sexual psychology of older adults, or rewrite new beliefs for yourself, beliefs that don't deny desire, but recognize that it is still there as a very natural and worthy part of who you are. You are not wrong, you are not weak, and you absolutely do not need to hide your healthy biological needs. Sexuality doesn't end with age, only negative beliefs make you lose connection with yourself. And when negative beliefs have eroded your confidence from within, the next risk strikes from the outside, impacting the internal organs of the lower abdomen, creating prolonged strain as the body can no longer recover its energy after each time of overexertion. Risk 9. Declining semen quality, when maintaining performance, accidentally reduces fertility at an older age. I still remember a consultation not long ago. A man in his 60s walked into the room with a gentle smile and eyes full of hope. "Doctor, I recently remarried. My wife is younger and we want to have a child. But it's been half a year and still nothing." Overall, his health was unremarkable. Hormone levels were normal, no signs of sexual dysfunction. But when I asked more about his ejaculation frequency, he hesitated and said, "I thought I should do it regularly to stay strong, almost every day, sometimes a few times a day." This is a fairly common belief, that frequent activity keeps the machine running smoothly and increases the chances of conception. But in reality, after age 60, ejaculating too frequently can prevent the testicles from regenerating enough sperm, leading to reduced semen quality, especially in terms of density and motility. Younger bodies recover quickly, but with age, the rate of sperm production clearly decreases. If you don't give your body enough rest time between ejaculations, you may be withdrawing capital constantly without allowing the reproductive system to rebuild. The sperm in subsequent times becomes thinner, less motile, and that affects fertility. I'm not saying that daily masturbation causes infertility, but if your goal is to conceive or simply to maintain optimal semen quality, then adjusting frequency is necessary. Some studies suggest that abstaining from ejaculation for 2 to 5 days can help achieve ideal sperm concentration and motility. And beyond physical factors, don't forget that emotions, lifestyle, and spiritual connection with your partner also directly affect reproductive health. Moderation not only supports your physiology, but is also a way to maintain harmony and appreciation in married life. And when we talk about semen quality, we are talking about something tangible. But the final risk is far more intangible. When the way you satisfy yourself no longer comes from true connection, but from exaggerated virtual stimulation, leading to emotional distortion and disconnection from real-life experiences. Risk 10. Virtual pleasure tricks the mind when reality no longer moves you. A 70-year-old man once sat in front of me speaking in a thoughtful voice. I don't mean I don't want someone beside me, but for some reason I just don't feel excited about real intimacy anymore. Everything feels dull. His body showed no clear problems, no hormonal disorder, no erectile dysfunction. But what he was experiencing was a shift in how the brain responds to stimulation, due to prolonged exposure to pornographic content or perfectly staged erotic images. In reality, the male brain is highly sensitive to novelty. When you repeatedly stimulate your visual senses with excessive, virtual imagery, the brain resets its pleasure threshold. The reward system now only responds to an unrealistically high level of stimulation, and that makes real-life interactions feel too light, too slow, and lacking appeal. You may notice yourself gradually becoming numb to real people, no longer moved by a glance, a whisper, or gentle closeness. Worse, you unconsciously begin comparing your real partner to fantasy images, and intimacy starts losing its true meaning. The good news is, the brain can fully recover. When you gradually reduce your exposure to pornographic content and instead make time to reconnect with real feelings, through memories, healthy imagination, and especially real presence with a real person, your emotions can be awakened again. Let the spark return naturally, not because of outside images, but because of inner sensations, of being shared with, being touched, being truly loved. At this point, you've journeyed with me through 10 silent risks, things that seem harmless, yet slowly erode your physical health, emotional strength, and intimacy after 60. But don't worry, this journey isn't over. In the final part of the video, I'll show you a simple method, just 7 seconds a day, that can activate blood circulation, restore physiological reflexes, and awaken your masculine energy in a natural and lasting way. Part 2, the 7-second technique. A simple way to restore circulation and natural sexual function daily. As I promised at the beginning of this journey, now is the time I guide you through a simple yet effective technique, requiring only 7 seconds a day. Though brief, if done correctly and consistently, this technique can help improve natural erectile reflexes, promote blood flow to the genital area, and reignite the physiological signals that have been slowing down after age 60. You should do this in the morning after waking up or at night before bed when the body is relaxed, the mind is calm, and connection with yourself is easiest. Lie on your back comfortably with legs gently extended. Then place your dominant palm on your lower abdomen, right at the junction between the belly and the pubic bone. Gently press down with your palm, applying moderate pressure, enough to feel it radiate down to the perineum, following a rhythm of once per second. Repeat 7 times. Each time you press, gently exhale as if you are waking up the entire sleeping region below. This technique may seem simple, but its power lies in the synchronized connection between physical sensation and mental signal. With every small motion, you're sending a clear message to your nervous system, endocrine system, and circulatory system. This body is still cared for, still active, still valuable. Just 7 seconds a day done consistently, and your body will gradually respond, with warmth spreading through, reflexes returning, and confidence being rebuilt day by day. I often tell my older patients, not every change requires medicine or complex therapies. Sometimes, a single small action, repeated with understanding, is enough to reopen the door to vitality once thought lost. Start today, no equipment needed, no cost, just one hand and a gentle commitment, and you can begin to reignite your natural sexual vitality that age has never truly taken away. After everything I've shared, I hope you now have a more complete perspective on the behavior of masturbation in older men. Instead of asking, should I stop or not? The more important question is, how to do it properly, how often is appropriate, and with what mindset so that you don't accidentally harm your long-term health. The 10 risks we explored together, from emotional isolation, reduced sensitivity, pelvic tension, hormonal imbalance, psychological distress, to disconnection from your partner, were not meant to create fear. They were mentioned to help you understand your own body more deeply, and from there, adjust the habits that may be quietly lowering your quality of life. Turning 60 is not the time to give up on emotional and sexual life. It's the time to live more slowly, understand more deeply, and reconnect with yourself in a peaceful, intentional, and mature way. Just one small action, done at the right time with clear awareness, can revive the masculine vitality you once thought was long gone. If what I shared today is valuable to you, please click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future videos. My channel regularly updates helpful guidance and advice on men's health after 60, covering physical wellness, mental well-being, and personal connection. Thank you for staying with me until the very last minute of this video. Wishing you strength, clarity, and the courage to love, grow, and care for yourself every single day.